Hi, my name is Jacob Orndorff, and I chose to review the article and research article Changes in Bone Mineral Density in Response to 24 Weeks of Resistance Training in College-Age Men and Women. This type of study was an experimental design study. It used a quantitative approach. The hypothesis of this study was to see if high peak bone mass during growth in a young adult life decreases risk of osteoporosis in both male and female as they age. Basically optimizing a window of time while they're younger to get as much bone density as possible in order to prevent osteoporosis in the future. They tested out a 24 weeks of resistance training in the college-age men and women, and they used an undulating periodization model as their means to obtain the mineral density in the experiment, using exercises such as deadlift, squats, and bench press, big free weight exercises. The experimental approach they used, when they designed the training model, they used 67 to 95% of 1 rep max. They used multi-joint exercises, which are a little bit harder to obtain from a motor learning standpoint. They included 24 weeks of resistance training, but they used 2 of those weeks out of the 12. Each one were acclimatization to get to know and learn the exercises. And then they took a 3-week gap after 12 weeks, and they measured again, and they did another acclimatization phase for 2 weeks, and then they did another 10 weeks of undulating resistance again, and testing after each of those 12-week cycles. The study limitations that I found interesting were the learning curves in the exercises. I've trained now for probably over, 10 years and 10 to 12 years, and it takes a long time to get skillful with those exercises. So I think it might take longer than 24 weeks to get to really know them, to produce the force you would get to create like bone mineral density changes. And this would be especially somebody who's unfamiliar, which for the exercises would take a lot longer. Also, the women in the study, they've mentioned possibly didn't produce enough strength to induce the force to create bone mineral density changes. And 7 out of the 12 females were on contraceptive, meaning birth control. So who knows how artificial estrogen affects how bone mineral density is gained. And nutrition was not controlled for each group, so that's also a factor. And then 3-week break in the middle of the 24 weeks allowed for detraining to occur. Usually after 2 weeks, detraining can start to occur in individuals, so they have to now relearn the exercises that they did, and they won't be as adapted to them. The bias of the researcher could have occurred by their excitement for resistance training. A lot of fitness professionals who study exercise science or anything are really passionate about it, and that could come off as biased to some of the individuals, I believe, and kind of alter the results of the study. Conclusion: 24 weeks of resistance training was effective at increasing bone mineral density in college-age males, especially in the spine and hip. They saw a greater result in the male population than they did, and further explanations needed to figure out an effective protocol for resistance training in women to increase bone mineral density. So they didn't see the improvements in the female population like they would hope. More exploration is needed, but they did find a good amount of change, anywhere from 2.4 to 7.7% change in bone mineral density in the college-age male, which was pretty significant. Overall, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.